The majority of people make money, then they spend money, and then they save and invest whatever's left. Wealthy people make money, then they invest money, and then they spend whatever's left after investing. And what we want to do now is I want to work with you to build a financial system that works with you as you scale your income. That way, no matter how much money you're making, whether it's $20,000 a year or $2 million a year, you're always working to continue building and growing and scaling your wealth. But the reason why this is so important is because, well, in the next part, we're going to be talking about how to actually put your money to work. But I want you to also think about, if you are an entrepreneur, how are you going to put your money to work and the different ways that you can do that? So the simplest thing that you can do now is build a system where anytime you get paid, some of your money is going to be spent, some of your money is going to be invested, and some of your money is going to be saved. A simple thing that you can follow is something like my 75-15-10 plan, which says that from here on out, for every dollar that you earn, 75 cents is the maximum that you can spend, 15 cents is the minimum that you can invest, and 10 cents is the minimum that you save. Now, whether you're earning $20,000, $200,000, or $2 million a year, you're always scaling how much money you're saving and you're scaling how much money you're investing. Now, you might be hearing this and saying, but Jaspreet, weren't you saying a little bit earlier in this quest that there's a cost to saving money, like you're losing value to inflation? And yes, and this is where you need to save your money strategically. You want to build a savings goal, somewhere between 3 to 12 months worth of expenses, depending on your risk tolerance, depending on your financial lifestyle, depending on your financial responsibilities. If you have kids, you have a spouse, you have a lot of financial responsibilities, you don't have a high risk tolerance, then maybe you want to save 6, 9, 12 months worth of expenses in an emergency savings account. If you're 25 years old, you're not married, you don't really have any financial responsibilities, maybe you don't need that big of a savings fund. Now maybe it's only 3 months. So depending on where you are in your life, that's going to help you decide how big of a savings fund, an emergency savings fund that you need. That way, in case an emergency happens, this is the cash that you fall back on. This is not the money that you use to go out and use as a down payment on your home. This is not the money that you use to go out and buy a new TV. This is the money that you want to save for an emergency. And once you hit that savings goal, now you're no longer going to be saving your money. You're going to reallocate the savings money to your investments. Now, I want to highlight here a little bit more about savings. There's 3 reasons why you should save your money. You save your money for an emergency, like we just talked about. You can save your money for a big purchase, like buying a home, buying a car, buying a watch. You can save your money to buy an investment. And this is what you're doing with your investment money. So when you're saving your money, you want to make sure you're doing it strategically, because if you're just saving your money to save it, well, now your savings are making you poorer because of inflation. But remember, 75, 15, 10. You also have this 15% of your money that's going towards your investments. This is where your wealth is being built. And the next part of this quest, we'll be talking about the different ways that you can invest your money in places like stocks and real estate. But other places where you can invest your money are potentially paying down your debt, like we talked about in a previous lesson. If you want to pay down some of your debt faster, you could potentially use this money to fund some of your education. You could potentially use this money to help fund your business. And you could potentially put this money into an account that's waiting to be invested. Because if you want to be more involved in your investments and you want to find a good real estate deal, you want to find a good business opportunity, well, that means you don't necessarily need to invest all this money today, but you want to have this money waiting, ready to be invested. So now you work to just build out the system. Maybe you have enough income or low enough expenses where maybe you could follow a 50-30-20 plan, where now instead of living off of 75% of your income, you're living off of 50% of your income. You're investing 30%. You're saving 20%. Start wherever you are and then work to keep investing more of your money, because again, the key to becoming wealthy is investing your money. The more money you invest, the wealthier you will become. But what happens now if you are a business owner? What do you do then? Because now things are a little bit different. Because if you, let's just say your business grows and you made $100,000 in your business profit, now what? Well, in business as an entrepreneur, that cash is the lifeblood of your business. And this is where if you have a short-term mindset, whether you're an investor or an entrepreneur here, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot. Because what ends up happening now is you made $100,000. Nice. You hit the 6-figure mark. Now, if you take this $100,000 and you put some money down for a nice home and you put some money down to buy a nice car and you take that money out of the business, well, now you just pulled the lifeblood out of the business. That way you can go out and buy the nice stuff that you wanted. But your business no longer has any money to reinvest to keep growing. And this is a big dilemma for a lot of startup and early stage entrepreneurs. Is now, as you start making money, when do you start paying yourself? And how much do you pay yourself? And what do you do with this money? I'll tell you a little story, because the first time I made $1 million a year, well, I think I took home about $20,000 because all of my money was going back into the business. I was spending very little money on me because I wanted to keep growing the business. And that business that you have is an asset. It is an investment. And so now when you reallocate this money back into the business, it's an investment from your business, from you back into the business. And now this is where you have to ask yourself the question, well, what do you do with the money you make as a business? How much money are you going to reinvest back into the business, and how much are you going to pay you? And this is something where now you want to treat yourself like an employee in the business. Because if you can grow your business to the point where now you can pay yourself a salary, now there's two things you can do. Now you build your personal wealth and you build your business's wealth. If you make $100,000 a year and you pay yourself a salary of $25,000, well, now there's $75,000 in the business and there's $25,000 that comes to you. Now, out of the $25,000 that comes to you, you still got to follow a smart financial system, because if you spend all that money, well, you're not saving, you're not investing, and you're spending all your money with a net zero mindset, which is what we don't want. So now you pay yourself this salary. Now you follow the 75, 15, 10 on your personal income, because you are an employee in your business. So you make 25 grand, follow the 75, 15, 10 plan or whatever you're able to do right now until you can make your way to 75, 15, 10. Now you have the 75,000 left in the business. What do you do with that? Do you take it out as a profit distribution and go and buy a new car? Or do you take that money and reinvest it back into the business? And this is where you can also ask the question of, what's the best investment opportunity for you? Because you might be asking, well, I'm running this business, but I also want to invest in real estate. I'm building this company, but maybe I should invest in stocks. But when you invest your money into real estate and stocks, you might remember that I said earlier that you're generally trying to get a 7 to 10% return on your money. But when you invest your money in your business, now you can get a 20%, 50%, maybe 200% return on your money. So you have the potential to earn way more from your business, but it's risky. I mean, 9 out of 10 startups fail. And now you can start to see why this becomes such a big dilemma, because now when you're investing your money into your business, it is an investment, but it's a riskier investment. You have the ability to earn way more, but you can also lose way more. And this is where now you can mitigate some of your risk by learning. There's a lot of quests here on Mindvalley that will help you be a better entrepreneur, but you can mitigate some of the risk by learning. And the question now is, well, what type of business do you want? Do you want a lifestyle business, or do you want to build a real business? Because a lifestyle business means, well, this business is doing enough to just pay my bills and maybe it's a decent income, but I'm not reinvesting a bunch of money back into the business because I don't want to really extract myself in the business. I just want a business that's comfortable and that allows me to live this nice life. Building a real business means I want to build a business where I could potentially fire myself as a CEO and hire a new CEO. And now because I own the business, I own the right to the future profits. And to do that, it's going to require more financial investment and more scaling ability. That way you can build and grow this business. And this is where now ask yourself, do you want the lifestyle brand, or do you want a real business? A real business is something that you can fire yourself from. It's something that you could potentially sell. It's a real business. A lifestyle brand, it's a job that you created. And it might be making you a lot of money. I mean, you can have a lifestyle brand that's making you millions of dollars a year, but you can't necessarily sell it. And if you stop working towards it, you stop making more money in it. And if you want to go from here, the lifestyle brand, to building a real business, well, that means now you're going to have to use your money a little bit differently, because your cash is the lifeblood of your business. And if you're pulling the cash out of the business, that way you can live your lifestyle, well, that's going to pull that lifeblood out, and that's going to reduce your ability to turn this lifestyle brand into a real business. So now, let's play this out. You Whether you're starting a business or whether you work inside of somebody else's company, you are an employee. Whether it's your own company or somebody else's, you are an employee. When you make money, you got to follow a financial system. That way, some of your money is invested, some of your money is saved, and then you spend whatever's left, something like the 75-15-10 plan. But if you also own the company where you're working in, now the question is, what do you do with the other profits that are left in the business? Do you pull it out, pull the lifeblood out of the business, that way you can live a nice lifestyle? Or do you want to leave it in the business, that way you can continue growing the business and build it into more of a scalable business? Again, neither one of these is right or wrong, but it depends on what type of lifestyle you want to live and what type of business you want to build. And this is where it really starts by understanding, what is your goal? What do you want to achieve? Because when you know the end, you start with the end, it's a lot easier for you to make the decisions that you want to do today. Because now if you're saying, well, I want to build my business, I want to build a real massive business, should I go invest my money in stocks? Should I go invest my money in real estate? Well, now you just answered your own question. You want to build a massive business. Why are you investing in stocks and real estate? You could put that money back into the business. If you don't have a place to invest it, then maybe you can go out and invest in stocks and real estate, or maybe you invest in stocks and real estate from the salary that you're getting. But if you're taking the lifeblood out of the business to go out and invest in stocks and real estate, that way you can get a 7% return when you could have used that money to get a 20 or 200% return in the business. Well, now you want to build a massive business, but you're taking the money and getting a 6 or 7% return in stocks or real estate. So now, again, start with the end. What type of business do you want? And use that knowledge as now your guideline of what you're going to do with the money that the business makes. But regardless, if you own a business or if you don't own a business, you are an employee. When you're an employee, you have to use your money as a tool. That means you got to invest first, you got to save first, and then you got to spend last. Following something like the 75-15-10 plan. That way now you have a financial system. That way no matter how much money you're making, you're always investing, you're always saving. And as a quick little tip, go out and create 3 bank accounts to help you do this. Because most banks will allow you to build an automation for free. That way anytime you get paid, the money can automatically be transferred. That way you have 3 different bank accounts. 1 bank account for your spending money, 1 bank account for your investing money, and 1 bank account for your savings money. And the reason why you want to do this is so you don't accidentally spend your investing or your savings money. So go out, create 3 different bank accounts and start dividing up the money. That way now you know how much money you have, whether it's to spend, whether it's to invest, or whether it's to save. Your action steps for this lesson are to, number 1, go out and create 3 different bank accounts. Create 1 bank account to hold the money you want to spend. Keep 1 bank account to hold the money that you want to invest, and keep 1 bank account to hold the money that you want to save. Then I want you to figure out what type of financial system can you follow. Is it 75-15-10? Is it 50-30-20? Is it something else? Then once you figure out what type of system that you can follow, that way you're always investing and saving your money first, I want you to create an automation. That way now anytime you get paid, your money is automatically being divided between your spending, your investing, and your savings money. And then if you are an entrepreneur, I want you to start thinking about what type of business and lifestyle do you want, because that's going to help dictate how you invest your money, not just for the money that you make from your salary, but from the money that your business makes. All right, we finished up part 1 of this quest. Now I'll see you in part 2, where we're going to dig even deeper in how you can use your money to make you even more money. I'll see you there.